The outbreak of war in August 1914 saw an extraordinary display of solidarity from the British Empire.
There was an immediate response, especially in the Dominions, Canada and South Africa and New Zealand and Australia, and many volunteers, and they found their way to many of the war fronts.
At least a quarter of those who fought on Britain's behalf were not British, and despite vast distances between them, there was an overwhelming sense of pride to fight for the Empire.
100 years ago, the British Empire was quite relatively close-knit. You know, countries like Australia, Canada, South Africa were dominions, and so they actually were quite happy to lend their support to a British war effort. They felt, you know, a greater connection to the mother country, I suppose, of the empire in that period.
The readiness of Britain's empire to fight for the cause was encouraging to those back home. Posters like these were used to try to encourage the empire to get involved in the war effort. But these posters were also put up in Britain to try to make Britons feel that if the empire was getting involved, then they should do so too. But there were racial divisions. White men could fight on the front line in Europe, black men could not.
Well, they would have been providing labour, and this was an extremely important thing, actually. I mean, it sounds like a secondary role, but actually building roads and maintaining them, digging trenches and maintaining them. You couldn't have fought the war on the Western Front without vast amounts of labour.
The war came to an end in 1918, and its aftermath brought change. It altered Dominion's relationships with the Imperial Centre and transformed the path that history was to take. Natalie Powell, London.
You deserve to know more.
enca.com